At the company's annual gala, my girlfriend was supposed to announce our engagement. Instead, the new intern who just joined grabbed the mic and declared smugly, "Victoria, confessing your feelings for me in front of everyone. Isn't that a little public?" Not only did my girlfriend not correct him, but she also arranged a private trip for the two of them, calling it a mentorship opportunity. The entire room erupted in whistles and catcalls, cheering about what a perfect power couple they made. A colleague nudged me as I stood frozen. "What are you waiting for? Go toast them. Say something nice." I managed a faint smile, then walked to the stage and tossed the velvet ring box I'd been clutching at my girlfriend's feet. A private trip is hardly enough, is it? Consider this my contribution to the wedding fund. Just make sure I get an invite. 01. The strobing lights of the annual gala made my head ache. I stood near the stage, the velvet box growing slick in my sweaty palm. On stage, Victoria Shaw was wrapping up her annual address. She was wearing the Chanel dress I bought for her, and she was so beautiful it hurt to look. "And finally, I have one last important announcement to make," she said, her eyes finding mine in the crowd, the corner of her mouth ticking upward. My heart hammered against my ribs. 5 years. 5 years we kept our relationship a secret, navigating the treacherous waters of an office romance. Tonight, it was finally going public. I felt for the 6-figure diamond ring in my pocket, picturing it on her finger. Just then, Cody Jensen, an intern who'd been with us for all of 3 months, vaulted onto the stage and snatched the microphone from its stand. "Victoria, confessing your feelings for me in front of everyone. Isn't that a little public?" He flashed a brilliant, boyish grin, revealing 2 perfect canine teeth. His tone shifted, becoming conspiratorial. "But I like it." The ballroom went silent for 2 full seconds before erupting in a wave of laughter and wolf whistles. I was frozen in place, the sharp edges of the box digging into my palm. Victoria's expression was momentarily stunned, but quickly melted into an indulgent smile. "Cody is definitely one of our most promising new talents," she said, clapping him on the shoulder. "To reward you for your outstanding performance, I'm arranging a private trip, just the 2 of us. Think of it as a special training session." Cody clutched his chest dramatically. "Is the great Victoria Shaw asking me on a date?" The crowd roared its approval. My longtime colleague Dave elbowed me in the ribs. "Liam, snap out of it. Go toast them. Say something nice." I turned to him mechanically. He winked at me. "It's obvious Victoria's into the kid. As his department head, you've got to show some support, right?" I looked down at the ring box in my hand, my mind a complete blank. Into the kid? Then what am I? What were the last 5 years of my life? Watching them laugh and banter on stage, I stood there for a long moment before a bitter smile spread across my face. "You're right. I should congratulate them." With that, I straightened my suit and strode toward the stage. Victoria saw me approaching, and a flicker of panic crossed her face. Cody just jutted his chin out, a triumphant smirk plastered on his face. "A private trip is hardly enough, is it?" I opened the box, took out the diamond ring I'd just bought, and tossed it at Victoria's feet. "Consider this my contribution to the wedding fund. Just make sure I get an invite." The ring bounced twice on the polished floor, coming to a rest beside her stiletto heel. The color drained from her face. "Liam," but no one else noticed. The audience, thinking I was playing along with a corporate skit, broke into applause. "Way to be a team player, Carter. Damn, that ring doesn't look cheap. Liam's a generous guy. Victoria and Cody really are a power couple. Perfect timing on that gift, Liam." I gave the crowd a thin smile and turned to leave. I could hear the frantic click-clack of Victoria's heels behind me. "Liam, wait." I didn't look back. I walked straight out of the ballroom. The cool, quiet air of the hallway was the first clean breath I'd taken all night. Just as the elevator doors slid shut, I saw her running toward me, but she was too late. As the elevator descended, my phone buzzed. A text from Victoria. "It's not what you think. I can explain." I didn't reply. I just silenced my phone. Over the past 5 years, I'd heard that explanation far too many times. Cody's just an intern. I have to manage his morale. Work is swamped with this new project. Can we reschedule date night? He's young and doesn't know any better. Don't take it personally. Every single time, I chose to be the understanding, accommodating boyfriend. Because I loved her, I was willing to be invisible. I accepted every canceled plan, endured the sight of her and Cody laughing together in the office more and more frequently. Until today. She had promised me that today, at the gala, we would finally go public. She would finally give me the recognition I deserved. I had waited 5 years for this moment. The underground parking garage was as cold as a morgue. I slumped into the driver's seat. On the passenger seat sat a bottle of champagne I brought to celebrate our engagement. It looked like a cruel joke now. Just as I started the engine, a figure stepped directly in front of my car. Cody Jensen slapped his hand on my hood, that same smug grin on his face. I slammed on the brakes. He sauntered over to my window and tapped on glass. In a hurry to leave, Mr. Carter? I rolled down the window, my face a mask of indifference. Something I can help you with. Don't be so cold, Cody said, waggling his phone. The screen showed his iMessage chat with Victoria. Victoria just texted me. The trip is booked. 1 week in Maui. Just the two of us. I stared at his young, arrogant face and felt a sudden, absurd urge to laugh. 3 months ago, this kid couldn't even put together a proper PowerPoint presentation. I was the one who taught him step by step. And now here he was, lording his victory over me. Oh, are you done? If you're done, move. I'm leaving. Cody was clearly not expecting that reaction. He blinked. That's it? That's all you've got? You're not mad. Not even a little jealous. I was done talking. I rolled the window back up. He stumbled back, his expression souring. Just then, the sound of heels echoed through the garage. Victoria ran toward us, her hair slightly disheveled. Liam, she pounded on my window. We need to talk. I sighed and lowered the glass again. There's nothing to talk about. The ring is yours. I wish you both the best. Liam, will you stop this nonsense? Victoria's brow was furrowed in frustration as she blocked my way. It was the same look she always gave me when she defended Cody. Cody is an intern. It's my job to mentor him and help him grow. He's just a kid. It's normal for me to look out for him a little more. Why are you being so petty? There was again. Every single time Cody was involved, no matter who was right or wrong, it always came back to being my fault. I was so tired. I didn't have the energy to fight anymore. I took a long breath and met her gaze, my voice calmer than I'd ever heard it. Victoria, you only ever ask me to be understanding. You only ever ask me for unconditional tolerance. But you have no idea how many plans with my own friends I've canceled to keep you company while you worked late. You have no idea how much it guts me every time I see you and Cody laughing together. And you sure as hell have no idea what I put into getting ready for tonight. Victoria's expression softened, her lips parting slightly. I can explain. Don't, I said, starting the car again. Victoria, we're done. In the rearview mirror, I saw her standing frozen, growing smaller and smaller. Cody was right beside her, his arm draped over her shoulder, whispering something in her ear. My phone buzzed again. A text from an unknown number. Mr. Carter, this is the director of HR at Synergy Dynamics. Have you given our offer any more thought? We are prepared to double your current salary and include a significant project bonus. We look forward to hearing from you. I took a deep breath and typed back a reply. I accept. Let's schedule a time to discuss the details. The car emerged from the garage and merged into the river of taillights. In the rearview mirror, the Apex Innovations logo on the building facade shrank, then disappeared. 5 years of my life. Over. 02 as I drove away from the garage, my phone blew up with notifications. In the company-wide group chat, Victoria had posted an announcement with an @everyone tag. Per an executive decision, Project Zenith, formerly managed by Liam Carter, will be transferred to Cody Jensen, effective immediately. Liam is expected to facilitate a smooth and complete handover. The chat immediately exploded. Great call, Victoria. Cody is a rock star. Don't feel bad, Liam. Corporate restructuring happens. Damn, Cody, landing a project this huge after only 3 months? Killing it. I let out a cold, humorless laugh and closed the app. Just a moment ago, she looked like she might have felt a shred of doubt. Now, she couldn't wait to rip my biggest project out of my hands. It wasn't hard to guess who'd been whispering in her ear. Project Zenith was the company's most critical R&D initiative of the last 2 years. I was the only person who understood its core technology. Victoria knew that. She had to, but she gave it to Cody anyway, clearly hoping to use it as leverage to force me to crawl back and apologize. Too bad for them. They completely miscalculated. When it came to my work or my self-respect, I was done compromising on either. The next morning, Cody was waiting for me outside my office. "Morning, Liam. Victoria sent me to start the project handover." He smiled, taking a long, slow sip of his latte. "You're not going to make this difficult, are you?" I glanced at him, said nothing, and pushed past him into my office. Cody followed me in, plopped down in my chair, and kicked his feet up on my desk. "Wow, this chair is comfortable. I can see why you wouldn't want to leave." I ignored him, pulled a file from my drawer, one I had prepared in advance, and tossed it onto the desk. "The project documentation is all in there. Help yourself." Cody flipped through a few pages, his brow furrowing. "What is this? Where's the source code? The core algorithm?" I shrugged. "It's all in my head." His face darkened. "Carter, don't be an ass. Victoria said you need to provide a complete handover." I smiled. "Fiend it. Then have her come and tell me that herself." Cody shot to his feet. "Who do you think you are? Victoria can't even be bothered to see you right now." I had no more time to waste on him. I grabbed the resignation letter from my desk and walked out. "Where are you going?" He yelled after me. "To quit." I didn't look back, heading straight for the CEO's office. When I pushed the door open, she was reviewing a document and didn't even look up. "What is it?" I placed the resignation letter on her desk. "I'm resigning." She finally lifted her head, her eyes as cold as ice. "Liam, are you serious? How long are you going to keep this tantrum going?" My voice was flat. "This isn't a tantrum. This is real." She stared at me for a few seconds, then let out a sharp, cold laugh. "Fine, leave. This company will do just fine without you." Just then, the door flew open and Cody rushed in, out of breath. "Victoria, Liam is refusing to hand over the core data for Project Zenith." Victoria's jaw tightened as she looked back at me. "Liam, what the hell do you want?" Before I could answer, Cody cut in, his voice dripping with false sincerity. "Victoria, maybe we should just let it go. I'm sure Liam's just upset. I'll figure something else out." His show of magnanimity only fueled her anger. "No!" She slammed her hand on the desk. "Liam, you think you're irreplaceable. Let me tell you something. Your resignation, I'm approving it." She snatched a pen, scribbled her signature, and threw the letter back at me. "Now, pack your things and get out." I took the signed letter and smiled. "Thank you, Victoria." As I turned to leave, I heard Cody's syrupy voice behind me. "Victoria, don't be mad. He's probably just emotional." Victoria's voice was like steel. "Forget him. We don't need him." I paid them no mind and walked out of the office. Back at my desk, I started packing my personal belongings into a box. My colleagues watched me from the corners of their eyes, no one daring to speak. Dave, my old colleague, finally came over and sighed. "Liam, why are you doing this?" "Victoria's just angry. If you just apologize, this will all blow over." I smiled faintly. "You think this is about me being stubborn?" He looked confused. "Isn't it?" I didn't explain. I just put the last of my things in the box and clapped him on the shoulder. "Take care of yourself, Dave." Stepping out of the building, the afternoon sun was blinding. I took a deep breath, pulled out my phone, and called the HR director at Synergy Dynamics. "Hi, this is Liam Carter. Yes, my departure is finalized. I'm available to start immediately." After hanging up, I glanced back at the monolithic glass tower of Apex Innovations. "Victoria, you're about to find out. Without me, Project Zenith is going nowhere." 03. On the third day after I quit, my phone finally went quiet. Victoria hadn't texted again, and the company group chat was silent about any progress on Project Zenith. I figured she must have realized by now that, without me, the project was dead in the water. Normally, whenever we fought, I would be the one to break the silence within a couple of hours, finding some excuse to make up with her. But this time, I hadn't sent a single text. She was finally starting to understand that this time was different. Around 8 p.m., I was on my couch reviewing project files for Synergy Dynamics when the doorbell rang. I frowned and went to the door. Victoria stood there in a sharp business suit, heels immaculate, makeup perfect, but with a weariness in her eyes she couldn't hide. She looked at me, her tone cool. "Why aren't you answering your phone?" I leaned against the doorframe, making no move to let her in. What do you want, Victoria? Her brow furrowed, clearly unaccustomed to my new attitude. There's a problem with Project Zenith. I need you to come back and fix it. I laughed. Victoria, I don't work for you anymore. The company's problems aren't my problems. Her face hardened. Liam, there's a limit to how childish you can be. The project is stalled, and the entire team is waiting for you. I shrugged. Then they'll have to figure it out themselves. She stared at me, a flicker of panic in her eyes before she quickly masked it with her usual air of authority. What will it take to get you to come back? Come back. I raised an eyebrow. Come back to being your secret boyfriend. To watch you flirt with Cody Jensen. She bit her lip, her voice softening slightly. Liam, there's nothing going on between me and Cody. I was just what? I cut her off. Just thought he was young and full of potential. That he was more interesting than me. She was speechless. I walked back into my living room, grabbed my new company ID from the coffee table, and held it up for her to see. I've already started at Synergy. Tomorrow is my first official day. Her eyes went wide. She snatched the ID badge from my hand, staring at the corporate logo in disbelief. Synergy, they're our biggest competitor. Liam, have you lost your mind? You'd go work for the enemy just to spite me? I looked at her calmly. It's not about spite. They made me a better offer. An offer, she scoffed. How much are they paying you? I'll double it. Quit right now and come back. I shook my head. It's too late. She stared at me, her chest heaving. Are you really doing this over an intern? Is your ego that fragile? What kind of a man are you? Seeing her lash out at me now, I could faintly remember the day she first told me she loved me. We had promised to build a life together, but just 5 years in, everything had changed. I took a deep breath, finally saying the words that had been building inside me. Victoria, let's break up. The moment the words left my mouth, all the color drained from her face. She stared at me, her lips trembling, as if she couldn't believe what she was hearing. What? What did you say? I said, we're breaking up. I repeated, surprised at how steady my own voice was. It's been 5 years. I'm tired. Her fingers tightened around her purse strap, her knuckles turning white. Is this because I gave Cody the project? Liam, when did you become so small-minded? I let out a small, bitter laugh. You think that's what this is about? What else could it be about? Because I didn't announce our engagement at the gala? Because I'm friendly with Cody? Liam, can you please just grow up? I just watched her, the flush of anger in her cheeks, her desperate attempt to remain composed. Even now, after everything, she still thought I was just throwing a tantrum. Victoria, do you remember last Wednesday night? She paused. What? You said you had to work late and told me not to wait up. The truth is, I was in the hospital until 2 a.m. with a bleeding ulcer. Her pupils constricted. You never told me. What would have been the point? I laughed softly. You were busy entertaining a client with Cody. I saw the pictures on your Instagram story. You looked so happy. She swayed on her feet as if I'd struck her. You saw that. And that wasn't the only time. Last month, on my birthday, you had a last-minute emergency. 3 months ago, when my parents flew in for the first time in a year, you were too busy to meet them. 6 months ago, when I said I wanted to get married, you said we should wait a little longer. I can explain. She suddenly grabbed my wrist, her nails digging into my skin. There were reasons for all of that. The client Cody was handling is critical to the company. I had to be there. Enough. I gently pulled my arm free, unwilling to hear another one of her excuses. Just admit it, Victoria. In your world, I stopped being a priority a long time ago. Her eyes suddenly welled up. That's not true. Liam, just give me one more chance. It was the first time in 5 years I had ever seen her back down. But it was too late. Synergy gave me a triple salary offer and stock options. She stared at my ID badge, and a smile that was more painful than a grimace spread across her face. So this is about money? Liam, I never took you for that kind of person. Yeah, well, I guess I am. After all, in 5 years, I never even got a decent tie from you. Her expression froze. I think she finally remembered the designer tie she'd given to Cody, the one I saw he'd carelessly tossed aside. Her voice caught in her throat. I can go buy you one right now. Don't bother. I opened the front door. Please leave, Victoria. I have to be at work early tomorrow. She didn't move. I looked at her perfectly coiffed hair, her flawless makeup. I suddenly remembered the girl from 5 years ago who would sneak me food during late nights at the office, the one who took a day off to take care of me when I had the flu. That girl was long gone. Liam. Her voice was barely a whisper. What if I fire Cody? I was stunned. I never thought someone as proud as her would ever say something like that. I thought about it for a moment, then shook my head. It wouldn't matter. The problem between us was never just about Cody. A tear finally broke free and rolled down her cheek, then another, splashing onto the floor. It was the first time I had ever seen her cry over me. A moment later, she lifted her head. The tears were still on her face, but her expression had hardened back into a cold mask. You think Synergy actually values you? They're just using you to get to me. I nodded. Maybe. So what? At least they're giving me the respect and compensation I deserve. She staggered back a step, her makeup now a mess. You'll regret this. Liam, I swear you will regret this. I'll be waiting, but for now I need you to leave. I escorted her out of my apartment. The moment the door clicked shut, I heard a muffled sob from the hallway. The sound grew fainter, then disappeared with the ding of the elevator. I leaned against the door, slowly sliding to the floor. My phone screen lit up, still showing the picture of Victoria and me I had set as the wallpaper. After a moment's hesitation, I deleted every single photo of us together. If I was going to let go, I had to let go of everything. After that night, it was like Victoria became a different person. On Monday morning, as I was walking into the Synergy Dynamics building, I saw her coming out of the coffee shop across the street, arm in arm with Cody. Cody was sporting a brand new suit, and on his wrist was the expensive watch Victoria had given him. Well, look who it is, Cody said loudly. Fancy meeting you here, Mr. Carter. Victoria stood beside him, staring straight at me, a ghost of a smile playing on her lips. I just nodded. Morning. Then I walked right past them. Liam, Victoria called out after me. Our company just landed a huge new contract. Cody's the project lead. I waved over my shoulder without looking back. Congratulations. I could hear Cody's sarcastic voice trailing behind me. He's a big shot at Synergy now, Victoria. He's too good for us. Over the next 2 weeks, these chance encounters happened more and more often. Sometimes it was at a restaurant, other times at the mall. Each time, Victoria would make a big show of being affectionate with Cody, but her eyes were always darting in my direction. I acted like I didn't see a thing. Then, on a Friday afternoon, I was taking a walk in a park near the office when I ran into my old college buddy, Mark. Liam Carter, is that really you? Mark clapped me on the shoulder. Man, I hear you're doing big things these days. We caught up for a few minutes, and just as we were laughing about an old memory, I heard the familiar click of heels on the pavement behind me. Liam, what a coincidence. Victoria had appeared out of nowhere, with Cody, of course, glued to her side. Her gaze shifted between Mark and me, a polite, plastic smile on her face. And this is? Mark asked curiously. I was about to speak, but Victoria extended her hand first. Hi, I'm Victoria Shaw. I'm Liam's ex-boss, I said flatly, cutting her off. Victoria, this is Mark, my friend from college. Victoria's hand froze in midair, the smile on her face stiffening. Sensing the tension, Cody immediately stepped in, draping an arm around her shoulders. Victoria, we should get going. The client is waiting. But Victoria didn't budge. She stared at me, her eyes burning. Is that how you introduce me now? How else should I introduce you? I shot back. Is there another title you'd prefer, Miss Shaw? Her eyes instantly turned red, and her lips trembled, but no words came out. Mark, realizing how awkward the situation was, quickly made his excuses and left. Once he was gone, Victoria grabbed my wrist. Liam, we need to talk. I pulled my arm away. We have nothing to talk about. Just listen to me. I know I was wrong. Her voice was choked with tears. I admit, I was doing it to make you mad. There's nothing between Cody and me. I laughed coldly. Victoria, when did you become so childish? I just wanted to make you jealous. I wanted to prove that I could be fine without you. And did you prove it? She froze, tears now streaming down her face. She sobbed. I regret it. Liam, can we please start over? I looked at her tear-streaked face and just felt baffled. If she had apologized like this just once in the past 5 years, I never would have reached this point. But she waited until I was completely and utterly done to finally learn her lesson. Victoria, I sighed. You never know how to appreciate what you have. And now it's too late. With that, I turned and walked away. I could hear her screaming my name behind me, her voice raw and desperate. Liam, Liam. I didn't turn back. The sun was setting, casting my shadow long on the pavement in front of me. This time, I was finally moving forward with nothing holding me back. A month later, I was standing under the spotlight at Synergy Dynamics' quarterly earnings press conference as the newly appointed Director of Technology. Under Mr. Carter's leadership, Project Orion was completed 3 months ahead of schedule, and we have already secured partnership agreements with 3 major international firms. The room was filled with thunderous applause and the constant flash of cameras. I smiled at the audience, and in the very back row, my eyes landed on a familiar figure, Victoria. She was wearing a simple white shirt and jeans, no makeup. She looked nothing like the polished, powerful executive I once knew. When she saw that I'd noticed her, her eyes lit up for a second before the light quickly faded. After the press conference, she cornered me by the back exit of the building. Liam. Her voice was so quiet I could barely hear it. Can we talk? I glanced at my watch. You have 10 minutes. She bit her lip and pulled a folder out of her bag. The company. It's about to go under. I glanced at the document. It was Apex's latest financial statement. The losses were staggering. Cody completely botched Project Zenith. All our investors pulled out. The bank is calling in our loans. We can't even make payroll. And I cut her off. She looked up, her eyes brimming with tears. So, can you come back and help me? Just this one last time. I looked at her red-rimmed eyes and suddenly remembered 5 years ago, when we were just starting the company. She had looked at me with that same fire in her eyes and said, Liam, we're going to build something incredible together. She had been so full of light back then. I didn't answer her question directly. Instead, I asked one of my own. Do you remember the Project Everest crisis last year? She looked blank. I stayed up for 3 days straight, rewriting the entire code base from scratch. What about the year before, when our series of funding fell through? I was the one who flew to Boston overnight and convinced the VCs to give us a chance. Tears streamed down her face, unstoppable. Every single time this company was on the brink, I was the one who saved it. And what did I get in return? You gave Cody a promotion and a raise. You gave him a luxury watch and a company car. You gave him the public recognition I begged you for and never received. Before I could finish, Victoria couldn't bear to hear anymore. She shook her head violently, grabbing my sleeve. I was wrong. I really know I was wrong this time. I gently pull my arm free. No, you don't. You don't regret betraying my trust. You only regret losing the one person who was always there to clean up your messes. She flinched, as if I had struck a nerve. When she spoke again, her voice was broken. Liam, please give me one more chance. I promise. Enough, I interrupted. Victoria, have some dignity. I turned to leave, but she suddenly rushed forward and wrapped her arms around me from behind. Don't go, please. Her tears soaked through the back of my shirt. I can't do this without you. I really can't. I froze. In all the years I had known her, she had never once said she needed me. But it didn't matter anymore. It was too late to fix anything. I slowly pried her fingers from my shirt. Miss Shaw, please let go. She stumbled back, her face a wreck. Just then my phone rang. Mr. Carter, the board meeting is about to start. My assistant's voice came through the phone. Mr. Wright said, there's an important client who wants to meet you. Okay, I'm on my way, I said, hanging up. I looked back at Victoria. Sorry, I have to get back to work. Her lips trembled. You're doing well now. I straightened the collar of my suit. As you can see, I'm doing great. Victoria looked as though all the strength had been sucked out of her. She slowly sank to the ground and, right there in the busy plaza, began to sob like a lost child. I didn't try to help her up. I just turned and walked away. Even from a distance, I could still hear her heart-wrenching cries. This time, she finally understood. The Liam Carter who would always be waiting for her was never coming back. On my way to the conference room, I got an email from HR. Congratulations on being named Employee of the Quarter. Your bonus has been deposited. I looked at the screen and felt a small, genuine smile spread across my face. It felt good to be valued. My life at Synergy Dynamics was a blur of success. I went from director of technology to head of the entire division in just 6 months. The stock options the board had given me vested, and I bought a condo downtown with a car in the garage I could have only dreamed of before. Sometimes, working late into the night, I'd look out over the city lights from my floor-to-ceiling windows and think about the man I used to be, the one trembling in a crowded ballroom, clutching a ring box. He felt like a distant shadow from another life. I knew, vaguely, what was happening with Victoria's company. I'd see articles on tech forums about Apex Innovation's cash flow problems. Colleagues in the industry would mention that she was running herself ragged trying to secure new funding. The glamorous, untouchable woman from the gala was now forced to grovel for every client meeting. Overwhelmed by her failing business, she had long since stopped trying to contact me with tearful, nostalgic messages. That suited me just fine. You have to keep moving forward, right? At the beginning of the year, a new intern started in my division. Her name was Hannah Wright. She was shy and quiet, and during her first project presentation, her voice shook with nerves. I was just starting to lead my own team, and I saw a bit of my younger self in her, so I offered a few pointers. After that, she started coming to me with questions more often, from coding logic to industry trends, always meticulously taking notes in a small notebook. Liam, I'm still a little lost on this algorithm model. She would stand at my office door holding a cup of coffee, her eyes bright with curiosity. I practically mentored her one-on-one. I took her on-site to client meetings, edited her proposals. I even subtly ran interference for her when she was getting grief from another department. Hannah was brilliant. She was a fast learner, and she was grateful. One night, when I was working past midnight, she quietly left a thermos of hot soup on my desk, gave me a small smile, and left without a word. In that moment, something in the quiet, closed-off corners of my heart stirred. We started dating after a project celebration party. She'd had a little to drink, and her cheeks were flushed. She tugged on my sleeve. Liam, I don't just see you as a mentor. I looked into her earnest eyes, and, with very little hesitation, I nodded. It wasn't until after we were together that I learned she was the chairman's daughter. The first time Mr. Wright met me formally, he clapped me on the shoulder. Liam, I've read your project reports. You're solid, full of good ideas. I know my daughter is in good hands with you. Despite her background, Hannah had no sense of entitlement. She would ride the subway with me and bring me homemade lunches when I had to work late. We went to art exhibits and on hiking trips. She would tell me stories about her childhood, and she would listen intently when I talked about my past. Of course, I only ever glossed over the parts about Victoria. I thought my life would just continue on this peaceful, happy trajectory. The name Victoria Shaw had almost completely faded from my memory. Until that day, Liam, Hannah and I were at Bloomingdale's. She had gone into a fitting room to try something on, and I was waiting on one of the plush chairs outside. I heard a voice that was both familiar and strange. I looked up and saw Victoria standing a few feet away. She was much thinner. She was wearing a plain t-shirt and jeans, carrying a cheap-looking purse. But what shocked me the most was her hair. Her once perfectly maintained long hair was chopped into a ragged, uneven bob, as if she'd taken a pair of scissors to it herself. It really is you. Her eyes reddened the moment she saw me. As if trying to prove some desperate point, she fumbled in her purse and pulled something out. Look, I kept it. It was the ring I had thrown at her feet. I couldn't help but frown. Victoria, what are you doing? I regret it. I really, truly regret it. Tears streamed down her face as she clumsily tried to slide the ring onto her finger. But she had lost so much weight that it just spun loosely. Liam, please give me another chance. The company is gone. Cody left. I have nothing left. Only you. I took a step back. Don't do this. I know you still love me. She lunged forward and grabbed my hand. We were together for 5 years. You can't just turn that off. You're just angry with me, right? I was wrong. I'll listen to whatever you say from now on. I yanked my hand back. Victoria, it's over between us. No, she shrieked. You still love me, you. Liam, who's this? At the worst possible moment, Hannah stepped out of the fitting room, looking at us with confusion. Victoria's sobs stopped abruptly. She stared at Hannah's hand, now linked through my arm, and her face went as white as a sheet. Who is she? I took a deep breath and put my arm around Hannah's shoulders. This is my girlfriend, Hannah. Victoria looked as if she'd been struck by lightning. Girlfriend. Hi, Hannah said, nodding politely. Then she whispered to me, Liam, who is? I didn't get to answer because Victoria suddenly started to laugh. The sound was manic, mingling with the smeared mascara on her face. She looked utterly broken. You're lying to me, aren't you, Liam? You just found some woman to try and make me angry. Victoria, would you please get a grip? We broke up a long time ago. No, impossible, she screamed, grabbing the front of my shirt. How could you do this to me? I gave up everything for you. How could you? Please let go of him. Hannah stepped forward, her voice soft but firm. Don't touch my fiancé. Victoria froze. She looked from Hannah to me and then back again. She slowly released her grip, staggering backward. You too. I had no desire to witness any more of her melodrama. I took Hannah's hand. Let's go. As the elevator doors slid shut, I heard the clatter of something small hitting the marble floor, followed by Victoria's raw, gut-wrenching sobs. It hurts, doesn't it? The feeling of being abandoned by the person you love. It took me 5 years of that pain to finally find the courage to start again. Later, I heard that Victoria's company never found anyone who could replace me. They couldn't overcome the technological hurdles at the core of their main project. Investors pulled out, the stock price plummeted, and one crisis followed another. 3 months later, she finally gave up and filed for bankruptcy. By then, I was on the other side of the world, in New Zealand, busy planning my wedding with Hannah. Victoria, Shaw, my past, none of it had anything to do with me anymore. All I wanted was what I had right now. A simple, tangible happiness, right within my grasp.